While the bells of the basilica rang as they always had, something had stopped ringing within the walls of the Vatican. It was not a trumpet. It was not a decree read aloud in the public square. It was a dry, absolute silence, descending like a mist upon the sacred halls, leaving cardinals perplexed and monks speechless. On that grey morning, when many expected just another ceremony, the unexpected became reality. Pope Leo XIV had signed a document forbidding 7 ancient traditions of the Catholic Church, traditions that had survived councils, persecutions, reforms, and schisms, traditions that formed the backbone of centuries of faith. It was not a suggestion, it was not a pastoral reform, it was a prohibition. And while theologians scrambled to understand what had been torn from the liturgical soul of the Church, Leo XIV remained silent, praying in the shadows, far from applause and outcry. What would lead a pope to break with such deep pillars of Catholic spirituality? What did he see that no one else could? Was he purifying the Church, or preparing the world for something we have yet to understand? The Vatican trembled, but it was not only with indignation, it was with fear. Because when a pope begins touching millenary traditions not with pride but with tears, it is a sign that something much greater is about to unfold, and that something may no longer be stopped. For nearly 2,000 years, Latin was not just a language of the Church. It was the invisible veil separating profane time from sacred time. When the priests pronounced Dominus Vobiscum, it was not merely a liturgical greeting, it was an echo of eternity, a way to tear the soul from earthly worries and cast it into the center of mystery. But Leo XIV tore that veil. He forbade it. From a certain day, recorded only in a confidential document, Latin was silenced. No more Agnus Dei, no more Gloria in Excelsis Deo, no more Credo in Unum Diem. Behind the scenes at the Vatican, conservative bishops reacted with quiet horror. One was even said to have whispered through tears, "It's as if he erased the language of angels." But was it an attack on the past, or a rescue of what lies beyond words? According to sources close to the pontiff, Leo XIV did not ban Latin out of disdain, but out of the recognition that it had become a dead armor, symbolically powerful, but devoid of life, used more to maintain appearances than to nourish souls. When even sacred language becomes clerical pride, he is said to have declared in a private homily, "It is time to be silent and listen to the Spirit." The decision was met with silence in the streets, but with hidden emotion in monasteries. Some nuns reportedly wept for days. Others, in contrast, breathed in relief, because finally they whispered, the liturgy could be understood with the heart, not just the dictionary. But there is more. Sources close to Leo XIV revealed that this prohibition was not an isolated act. It was part of a greater plan to dismantle the symbols that had become walls between the people and God. This is not a war against the sacred. It is a war against the idolatry of the sacred, and that, at the heart of the Church, is more dangerous than heresy, because it does not strike the enemies of faith, but its guardians. In the corridors of the Vatican, the echoes of this decision still linger. But beyond them, in the deserts of the modern soul, a new question begins to arise. Have we lost Latin, or have we finally found silence? For centuries, the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament was the beating heart of countless parishes, convents, and there, in the golden monstrance, the faithful believed they saw not just consecrated bread, but the real presence of God walking among men. In silence before the altar, entire families knelt, beggars wept over their miseries, and nuns offered up the pain of the world. It was the only place where time seemed to stop, where the noise of modern existence could not enter. But all of that was interrupted, forbidden, silenced. For the first time in the Church's recent history, a pope ordered the removal of all monstrances within Vatican territory and recommended that all public adoration cease, with exceptions only for contemplative cloisters. The decision was not announced in a public square. It was sealed in a confidential letter, delivered by hand to each bishop. No press conference, no speech, no explanations. The Vatican has never officially commented, but what is known through leaks and indirect reports is that Leo XIV stated that the visible display of the Eucharist had become a hollow devotional spectacle, and that the real presence of Christ prefers the silence of hearts to the glitter of liturgical metals. A radical gesture, scandalous, devastating to many. Some saw it as a betrayal, others as a profound calling. We no longer need to look at gold, we need to carry the cross. According to internal sources, Leo XIV's intention was not to destroy the tradition, but to rescue it from an invisible collapse, the collapse of automatic faith, of external veneration without inner conversion. He did not want the faithful to stop adoring. He wanted them to adore in the dark, without stimuli, without images, without forms, just the naked soul before the mystery. It's as if Leo XIV was saying to the world, if you need to see in order to believe, perhaps you never truly believed at all. This act was met with a mixture of silence and outrage. Many bishops remained quiet out of fear. Others requested private audiences and were denied. The prefect cardinal of the Congregation for Divine Worship reportedly stated, "We are witnessing the greatest symbolic Eucharistic fast since the Council of Trent, but something strange happened. Instead of emptying churches, this decision sparked a secret, spontaneous, almost underground adoration. Groups began to gather in homes. Young people knelt before candles in dark rooms, whispering psalms in hushed tones. Something new and ancient was being born. Because when the altar disappears, the heart must become the new tabernacle, and perhaps that was what the Pope wanted all along. For centuries, the hierarchy of the Catholic Church was not merely spiritual, it was also visual, symbolic, almost theatrical. Your Most Reverend Eminence, His Most Reverend Excellency, Bishop so-and-so, Monsignor, this or that. The vestments multiplied in layers, rings, zucchitos, purple sashes, cardinal berets. It was as if heaven had a protocol, and each rung of sanctity wore its own uniform. But Leo XIV, with the firmness of one who steps down from a throne to wash the feet of the forgotten, abolished it all. All of it. No priest, bishop, or cardinal was henceforth to be addressed by titles of spiritual nobility. The letters he sent were short and direct. The cross needs no adornments, and those who serve Christ should be recognized by their wounds, not their titles. From that morning on, Vatican communications referred to bishops simply as priests. Cardinals no longer had the right to wear distinct garments within papal territory. Episcopal coats of arms were removed from the hallways, and above all, no one was to kneel before a clergyman again. The impact was overwhelming. Cardinals who had dedicated their lives to protocol were left disoriented. Some, according to internal sources, refused to attend curial meetings. Others wept in silence, not from a loss of power, but from the painful realization that they had built their identity on a structure of human reverence. Leo XIV, by contrast, appeared in public wearing a simple white cassock, without a papal ring, without a zucchetto, walking alone through the galleries of St. Peter's Basilica, like a pilgrim among marble statues. The church doesn't need to appear holy, it needs to be holy. This was the phrase he repeated in one of the few authorized interviews after the gesture. But there's a detail most people don't know. On the same day he abolished honorifics, Leo XIV went to the tomb of St. Francis of Assisi alone. No entourage, no cameras, no Swiss guard. There, he laid a parchment on the tomb with a single sentence written on it: "To strip oneself of the world is the greatest crown a man can wear." And so, the most austere pope in modern history was cleansing the stained glass of the church, not with violence, but with silence, with actions that burn deeper than words, and with a courage few understand, but many feel. This video ends, but the story does not. Because what Leo XIV did was not just change rules, it was an invitation to silence, a call, with the humility, an invisible summoning to the church of the future, poorer, more hidden, more alive. Now that you know what's happening behind the scenes of the Vatican, the real question is, what will you do with this? If this gesture of the Pope touched something within you, share this video with someone else who needs to be touched. Leave a comment saying, "I hear the call of silence," and above all, close your eyes, because sometimes what changes the world is not what is seen, it's what is heard with the soul. May the hidden light of truth continue setting hearts on fire.